Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video. We've got not one but two top 16 cuts for both of the Gencon in-person Dragon Ball Super Regionals that happened this past weekend. And big shoutouts to TAC for not only running the event, but also giving me these lists to give to you guys. I really do appreciate it. Also, if you guys appreciate all the hard work that went into making these documents, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. There was honestly a lot of work to do so, especially since we're doing 32 lists instead of 16. So I really would appreciate it. But going on into it again, this is both Thursday and a Sunday over here. But on the Thursday side, we did have 5 Gammas, 2 Trunks of Vegeta, with one of them taking the event, a Turles and SS4 Vegeta, a King Piccolo, SS3 Reboot, Dripku, Blue Baby, Raditz, Bulma, and a launch. Additionally, this was a an event with a top 4 cut, and then this is placing after top 4, so that is there. So Joshua was undefeated in Swiss and with top cut as well. And then on the Sunday side, we did have 6 Gammas, 4 Trunks of Vegeta, 1 Dripku, 1 Blue Baby, a Bulma, a Gotenks, an Invoker, and a launch deck as well. So doing the kind of thing where we do have a bunch of Gamma and Trunks with a lot of variety from there. And I gotta say, like, Gamma is definitely one of the best decks in the format. I think almost anyone can win with the deck if you try hard enough with it. And it's also very interesting to see almost, and by almost I mean exactly, 0 U7 Gokus in both of these top 16s, especially since I think it was probably one of the strongest lists going into this event, especially like based off all of the tops it's had in the months leading up to both these events. And we're seeing none on top of here. We're only really seeing a handful of red aggro, mostly from the King Piccolo. Bulma was kind of different, and launch is kind of different too. So it is really interesting to see that just not existent in both of these top 16s. But enough with that. We're going to start off with our top cut breakdown with one of each deck, based on where it topped. With the first place for the Thursday event, it is Joshua's, Trunks, and Vegeta. Starting off, we do have Joshua's first place, Vegeta and Trunks, and again, this took first place not only in Swiss and Thursday, but also in Top Cut afterwards. So quite an undefeated run from Joshua from, again, a very stacked event that we did have for both of these events of Gen Con here. So a lot of interesting text here too. We do not have the side deck for this one, unfortunately, and most of them we do. But if you got, I will update this list if I do end up getting it later on. But yeah, what a strong leader. And this is a leader that I think had such a slow burn at first. A lot of people didn't think it was super good, especially compared to like how Higher Dragon was before. Like, people were just trying to go into this guy slowly, and it's gotten a lot of value. I think people, kind of knowing how to min-max the leader as well, and just kind of figure out what exact text that Yellow has available to him that you want to run in a deck list like this. So you'll see a lot of specific 1 and 2-ofs in this list, just so many of them. 2 Final Flashes, 2 Release from Evil, such a good card. Like, Release from Evil just existing for yellow decks right now just means that any Gamma leader should just be afraid of attacking at all. And just being able to prevent your opponent from getting 1 15k attack every turn for the rest of the game, I think is good enough to just warrant, like, this, yellow just being strong if you have these unisons out. Even if you don't have a unison out, you can just pay it for 1 and you're still feeling pretty good about it. 1 of Basil, 1 of Realm of the Gods, Black Kamehameha, a Meki in the main, a Bardock Father and Son, a Death Blaster, Poutine, an Absolute Annihilation, a Steadfast Existence, and then your unisons here. There's just so many good 1-ofs, as well as I think this is such a good secret rare, and I think a lot of people have subscribed to this as well. Being able to like combo for 30,000 just means it's like a better super combo in a lot of ways, and then it just gets so much utility. You get to play it on the next turn, your opponent has to deal with it that way, and it's just so flexible in so many ways. And the fact that it's a secret rare that you get to play for 0 energy, as long as you time it right, it's so easy to get 5 rested. You don't even have to have the deck around doing it. It's such a good card for where we're at. So I don't have much more to say. I just, besides congratulations to Joshua for the great finish on Thursday. And again, I don't think Trunks and Vegeta are going anywhere anytime soon. Next up, we do have on the Sunday side, Justin Rios's first place at Dripku. And again, yellow taking both events. It is such a strong color right now, especially since I think a lot of people are kind of figuring that cooler is so good in a format where you regularly go to 5 or 6 energy. Yeah, I'll use half of it to make sure that my attack goes through, and then it'll be either what your leader can get a big double strike all by itself, or you can Champa. But yeah, if you can guarantee your attack going through, you're just golden. You just guarantee it go through, you have a double strike, and you make it like super big because your leader lets you kind of do that. So being able to have your win condition on your leader again too, like the Trunks gets the same thing. You just get double strike from the leader once per game, which is good enough if you can guarantee a cooler to get into that last strike for game 2. So but yeah, Dripku I think also kind of had this thing where it was a slow burn in the sense that people don't know the ratios to go from between the unisons, which can be quite clunky at times, and the the options you play. But I think it has hit its stride now, especially this is like the second event in a row that it's done well, with Eddie St. Hilaire's list taking a top 16 finishing at Otacon the previous weekend as well, also in the BT17 meta. So I think that is good. Final Sacrifice is a good card, again, for Release from Evil, because you're going to be playing unisons, you're going to have them all the time. Also using the empowered promos from the set I think is good. And again, this SS2 Son Gohan Z Fighter can just carry the game by itself. Not only is it good for defense, but also for offense. It can be it can let you live one more turn, as well as let you go for game with its own effect. So it's good on so many levels, and I really do like playing this guy. So it's very strong. Justin Rios also a very strong player. There's a side deck for this guy. I do like the gift from the earth from this. Of course, you put more coolers in there, and this is his list there. So congrats to Justin for getting first place on the Sunday regionals. And then next up, we do have Scott Dashy's second place Turles from Thursday. And if you'll see, like, yellow's doing good, and I think like the Turles, I've been on the Turles train pretty much since the set release, and I'm very happy that it did get at least one finish in this format. And it's with this yellow blue build. And something else I'll also say is that this is kind of like an in-between between Trunks and the Dripku, in the sense that it has like, it's half of both. It's kind of like the middle between both, which is cool. Dashy also ran the yellow blue version of this list too. I'm more of the monocolored variant, but of course I did not place second at probably one of the most stack events of this season. So what do I know with this? So Bean's very good, especially if you can, Bean and Gohan. Just means you have a 25k leader that your opponent has to try to, start doing damage with. So that really kind of adds up. There's a lot of value from there. Zamasu's good, not only because it is a check land, but also because you're able to interact with your opponent if you have that extra energy up. And again, like yellow being able to have so many good options that just cost one, it means that if you have Senzu Bean, you can kind of lean up to 2. It just doubles the amount of power you can use, especially since you can Senzu Bean into Bergamo if you need to. Very strong there. Again, using the Piccolo and Son Gohan secret rare. I think all 3 of them did. Yeah, they super did. It's a very good card. It's if you do not have it and you like yellow, I definitely recommend picking up as soon as you can. But again, Cooler is good. Krillin is a good super combo to help you out there. Release from Evil, especially since you start with a tree with essentially 3 markers at the beginning of the game, and it's a 16k, your opponent's going to have to just put a lot of energy to get rid of it as well. The only thing about this list is obviously you're going to have some times when you don't have your unison up, especially if your opponent has some way to get rid of your unisons. You will have to rebuild, but that's not as big, especially because you really don't mind just playing this for a hard 4 and getting the effect off for it. So I like this list. I like the idea. I do like the Dragon Fist in the side as well, and the Aandroidd 1718 too. So that is it for this list. Congrats again to Dashy for their second place finish with Turles. And then next up, we do have a Blue Baby. This is David Brinzo's Blue Baby list. And we did see Blue Baby take the Otacon regional the weekend before with Michael. So this is I don't know, it's on everyone's radar, I think, but it's still a great deck. And we're going to see a lot of other essentially just good blue toolbox lists. And part of the reason I think we have so many different leaders getting first place is a lot of them do 90% of the same thing, and it just comes down to the personal preference of who's your favorite leader that fits that archetype, and just cool from there. I mean, this game's been out for 5 years now. There's so many different leaders that have so many similar characteristics and effects that it really does come down to that personal choice. And I think Baby is super strong. Obviously, you do tailor it more to the effects that, it is the Overlord servant mechanic, and also being able to play counterplays for a little bit cheaper. That does make a big difference for this list. But obviously, we do see more of this mill aspect in this too, just to end the game, which is really, really funny on a lot of levels. You really don't need to attack into your opponent's stuff And if they can't self-awaken, sometimes you just leave them at like 7 or 8 life, and then you just mill them out with a lot of your effects. So we do have Rebirth of Justice, which lets you play at 5 cost or less, and then you also get to return 1, which some of the best choices from there are like the full power Frieza. Even though if you're not doing tokens, this can mill a lot, or just be a good board clear on an attack. Baby Goal Avenger, if you want to, just be able to pop something in as triple strike, which is quite nice. Can we do the Kale? I think we can do the Kale as well, which does have some good effects there. So I think that's a good choice for the Rebirth of Justice. King Cold also just for some more milling effects, also the Oceanus, and just obnoxious stuff. We're going to talk about it more too, but Blue Majin Buu is just such a good card for blue. Like, this just single-handedly carries, I think, blue as an archetype in a lot of ways. Like, just being able to play this on 4 and then have it for the rest of the game means that you're just having 1 extra energy every turn, an extra card draw every turn, and a blocker every turn too. Like, there's no negative things about playing this unison ever. I feel like it's too good for where we're at. So anyways, blue's very strong. I think this is a strong list in itself, and congrats to David for their finish there. And in general, I think blue and yellow are the best 2 colors in the game right now, as you're going to see between Gamma and Trunks Future, but also just all the other lists that just topped this weekend too. So talking about Gamma, we do have Jared Lopez's top 3, and by top 3 I mean 3rd place for both events on both Thursday and Sunday. Very, I don't know, Jared is one of my favorite players. He's so dang consistent, and he just is really good at, I guess, anything that's just Android related now, upgrading from Android 16 to the Gamma. And it's just such a nice, in the nicest way, simple list, right? Nothing too crazy, nothing, too out of right field. Like, it's just, you play some Androids, you're playing the Android 13 as well to do some card searching. We're playing some Android 15s as well. I think those are like some of the interesting choices. We're also just hard doing the Android 8 that like no super combo, the blue-green super combos that makes your opponent discard 1 or bottom deck 1. Like, just the casual one that's searchable that lets you do your things, and that's good enough for Jared there. Hatchiacs in the list. We got Cells, we got the 17, 18, and also the Hit Unisons. You also do have the Majin Buu, as I'm telling you. This guy is so good. Why would you not run anything else? He's fantastic in the list. So really solid list. We also don't see like any, like, a lot of people put Goku Apes in this list, but he is not. I think it's just the Android 13 pretty much does the same thing, as you pay 1 and you get the additional cards draw with it. So I think that's good enough for them. Dirty Burst in the side, the Dende new to the job in the side too, especially for the mirror match. I can see this being a very impactful card. And I don't know, this Jared's good. I like this list. It's probably one of the best ones under one of the best pilots, and if you want one of those things, you should probably use this list. So anyways, we do have that. And going into our 4th place list on Thursday, this is Ben Lodice's SS4 Vegeta. And as you see, we're already going like through all these lists, and they're all blue and yellow so far. Even if they're different leaders, they're very similar in a lot of ways. At least like a lot of the key staples for these colors just kind of stay the same. Obviously, Vegeta is a little bit different in the sense that you do kind of have some ramping potential with this list, and being able to do a lot of kind of neat things because of it, especially if you can ramp into turning the tide late into the game, can help you out there. I do like the Son Goku power of the Golden Ape as the one of your unisons as well. It does just get you like the plus 1k on your mono blue leader for the turn, which is kind of nice just in the fact that you don't have to commit anything besides having a unison out for it, and if you get like your pseudo dual attack with your opponent playing a counter card, you get that that plus 10k for both swings, which is kind of nice. So we all obviously play Majin Buu because Majin Buu is good. We've learned this after like a year and a half now. Dirty Burst, East Kai, I don't know, like there's just so many obnoxious cards that Blue has in its arsenal right now. We are running 2 of the gold Great Ape Son Gokus too, which is a little bit risky with some of your ramping stuff, but card draw is kind of needed for this because you don't draw a lot, especially on the Awaken. You only get to draw 1. But I don't know, it's very funny to see like SS4 doing as well as it did. On release, it really didn't do anything, and then when we did have like the full power of the Galactic Buster stuff, it was fantastic. And then that got banned, but people still play this list, and it's still very, very good. So I don't think SS4 is going anywhere, and it's doing it's one of the few ways to ramp in this game, at least consistently. I think it's just the best one to do it right now. So congrats to Ben there. And going to our next one, we do have our 4th place Bulma, our first non-blue or yellow list for the day. And this is Danny Wins, who Obviously did super well last month with Bulma and still doing quite well with it. Again, there's just a really good interaction with this Videl right now. There's so many good cards to get back with it, including like your super combo, including like your Vegetas. You can also get it back with an Aandroidd 17 counterattack to negate the attack. And then you get to play your Videl. And now you have 2 more blockers on the board because their Bulma Unison gives us that. Baby Unison is also fantastic for this deck, being able to get that plus 1k power for the turn just means like you don't have to combo as much, and at least like gets you out of 10k swings, which is really, I don't know, 11k on defense and 15k in defense are essentially the same thing. And so being able to do this with your Bulma as long as all your energies tapped is, I think, very strong for the list, and obviously it lets you use your Videls as well. But yeah, Danny's just super strong. Side decks, I don't know, Broly's just always in the red side deck, especially since Blue's doing as well as it is now too. And it's very cool. I do like being able to run like the Baba and the bandages. I think that's a very cute little archetype and like kind of cycle there too. And of course, like, yeah, being able to play this Mai for 1, which is a blocker barrier, just it's incredibly strong for the list as well. But I don't have a lot to say besides that. Just congrats to Danny for the double top. They did get a top 16 in both, including this 4th place on a Sunday. Moving right along, another red list. This is Michael Kerrick's 6th place King at Piccolo. Obviously this deck's been neutered like 2 times already, but Michael's is such a strong player that he can carry it anyways and do well. Like, he's been playing King Piccolo since the nerf. Like, he got like both decks nerfed. He got King Piccolo nerfed as well as the Invoker, and still playing both, as spoilers we'll see later down the way. But honestly, like, the big add is just like you gotta play the Mass Saiyan, just because it, like, you see this effect, you see all this, and you're like, oh, okay, draw 1 for 1. I've seen this before. I know how this works, and it's kind of good enough for it. Unfortunately, a lot of the archetype depends on having a Unison that costs 2 that with the Rejuvenate keyword, and we don't get that besides with him. So that's kind of stinky. But besides that, I think the deck is still pretty good for what it does. It just has a really good way to generate a lot of advantage and a lot of aggression, especially in a format when there is not a lot of aggressive archetypes right now. At least on like the standard aggression side, we do go to later like 4, 5, 6 energy turns quite regularly. And I think for that, like, being able to play something that's aggressive that your opponent's not really expecting as much can kind of catch them off guard. So I don't have a lot more than that. Congrats to Michael for this finish, and maybe we'll talk about another one in a couple minutes. Anyways, we do have next up Kevin Castillo's SS3 Reboot, and again, it's another blue Saiyan that just does blue Saiyan stuff. Obviously, the way you play SS3 is a little bit different than the SS4 Vegeta, as well as the blue baby, but the kind of ideas of how good some of these blue cards, are just stays the same. You play a bunch of 1-drops, including this Borgos here, to get some more card advantage. Senzu Bean, Dimension Magic, as well as Realm of the God, Beerus Destroys. We know these cards are good. You're playing Baby's Min, you're hard casting it for 3, but that's fine because you untap 3 every turn anyways. If you can get into your Majin Buu early, again, like, Majin Buu in this deck are in the, let me see if I can find it, the SS4, yeah, and the SS4. Being able to get like a ramp for 1 and then going into a Majin Buu a turn earlier is such a good play. Like, this just wins you. Like, if you play this on like turn 3, you just feel like you just win the game because your opponent's gonna not like playing against this, and then if they go into it, like, if they get rid of it, chances are going to just play another one the next turn. It's just, why did I even spend all that time to get another one out? It's just going to make my life even worse. So just a really strong list. The only thing is, like, obviously there's like no hard win condition besides just gaining a lot of value over the next couple turns, but we are a 20k leader. We do have some ways to do some counter stuff of our own, and we do have like some obnoxious stuff with like Super Saiyan God, Son Goku. I don't know, like, this, when I see this list, I just don't have fun against it. And we don't have any Ready to Rumble in the main, but it is in the side, especially since this is a best of 1 pre-side. If you feel like you need it, you will just go right into it, and that's pretty good. But that's all I'm going to talk about this guy. I don't know, blue Saiyans are good, and that shouldn't be news to anyone here. So next up, we do have Androidd's 10th place Gotenks from the Sunday Regional, and this is more of a preview, I think, of what's to come instead of what is. Especially since we do get the new Gotenks leader of this next set with the Zenkai Star deck. So that list in itself is kind of okay, but with all the stuff that we already have, including like this Son Goten Trunks, having a card with both names that can be either for any of your union plays is really good. I do like the addition of the Golden Frieza. I think this is such a good green, a good green unison to empower on top of, especially since we're already in an archetype that regularly likes to play our unison in turn 2, and since it's a +2 unison, it just lives for like the entire game. So it's good. It's a good choice for it, and I do like the ad for it. But Andres just likes playing these green decks. You've seen him do well with King Cold as well as the cooler unison archetype too. So I don't think this should be any surprise that I was able to get one last hurrah with this version of Gotenks, and no doubt testing the heck out of the new Zenkai one we get in a couple of weeks. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Zenkai is going to just be a whole new thing. We're going to have to see what does well and what gets out of it. But the fact that you're able, the leader has a new Z leader too, means that at least there's a lot of stuff to try out with the list and that. So again, congrats to Andres there. And then we've got Mr. Acosta's what place? 13th place from the Thursday regional. It is the Raditz, which I think is a good meta call on 2 reasons. One, not a lot of decks are, expecting hand destruction, and I think a lot of them, including a lot of these blue lists, are very kind of susceptible to hand destruction. And the way that it does hand destruction is it warps it, which means that even like the Boars and stuff do not interact with this leader effect and what you're doing, which is quite nice. I also would say this is good because, as you guys have probably noticed, there are no black decks in the meta right now. No one's playing black, which is kind of funny because this just has an worse time against black because of how all the mechanics work and everything. When they made this leader, they said, okay, does this need to have a really good matchup against black or a really bad matchup against black? And they decided on the bad matchup. So if no one's playing black, it's a good leader for that case, because all of the warp counting does not count black battle cards, and that's a real shame, including the effect of the 1-drop Raditz Ruthless Adversary. I mean, the idea of like drawing 1 card for every 2 black cards and there's 30 cards in there means you get to draw 15 for 1, and that's probably not too healthy for the game. But I wish there's kind of like a middle ground for this kind of idea. But anyways, being able to do hand destruction, and then like pretty much what this deck does, it just swings in, and then you just pay for cost for like Rebrians, Great Apes and Gokus, Bardoks, and you get a lot of value, including the SS Nappa. It's super good. +1 every turn, you just get to warp something, or you can choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards any cost greater than or equal to the current energy and KO them for the -2. I mean, it's a 4, when you play, you do the +1 immediately. It's a 20k with 4 markers on it, which means you're probably going to let it live for a bit. And then you get to do Golden Frieza on top of it with Empower afterwards. I think that is absurdly strong in a lot of ways. So Wicked Saiyans as our secret rare, SS4 Vegeta also just being able to be a 6k, Overwhelm 6 to play for free to warp something, which is good. And then the Supreme Kai of Time, you're almost always going to have a low hand size. So this is almost always a 10k combo, which is what you need it for and that kind of stuff. I also do like the Mighty Strike Prince of Destruction Vegeta as a counterattack. To get the attack, play this card, look at the top 7 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 green unison with specified cost of 3 from your hand, then shuffle, and then it's a servant with a +10k, so you can do a 25k. It just does everything. Like, and against the attack, it becomes a 25k for 1 swing because it does have a servant, and then helps you find your unison to find to play on your 3rd turn, which is good. So I don't know. I like this deck. I'm happy it did well, and congrats to them for their finish. Next up, we do have Michael Kerrick again. Surprise, he decided to play Invoker on Sunday and still topped with it, which is really nice. And if you know, he's probably one of the best Invoker players on the planet, and pretty much single-handedly said, okay, this is bad at 1. You should definitely errata this. And they did 2 red and 1 blue. But even with that errata, I think people did not give this a fair shake of testing this out afterwards. I think they just abandoned it as soon as it was errated. And I think this deck is still good. I think it does some really good things, and it can still win, obviously, because Michael was able to get a top 16 finish again with it on Sunday. So I don't have a lot to say about this guy, though. I think it's just Michael's fantastic with it. And again, I think people should really try playing this again. I think Aandroidd 17 is still very, very, very good for this archetype. It's better than the Vegeta that people used to play, especially because you just can't really interact with this guy, and which is why it was errated, obviously. But I think I think this deck is good, and people should. I don't know. I think people didn't give it a fair shake after the 17 nerf. So, anyways, congrats to Michael there. And then lastly, we do have Eric Hill's 15th place on Sunday. That also got a 16th place on Thursday with this list. And they've just been rocking this list for a while. I think launch is probably not in contention of a good deck, but also something that a lot of people are really looking forward to testing with all the Zenkai stuff. Especially since obviously I don't think they could ever make a Z leader for this leader, but there's just so many good Z battle cards that this leader can just play for, generate the resources for very quickly and then just kind of go from there. But playing the red-blue version, especially since Senzu Bean is good for what we're doing, the Baby Unison I think is a good add to this deck from the recent set, especially since it can give you that plus 1k power, as we said in the Bulma list, an 11k and a 15k on the defense side is pretty much the same thing, so that does help you out there. And then you just got a bunch of good stuff. I don't know, I like the Dispo ad. I think this is really nice, especially since it lets you recycle your 1-drops if you have nothing else on board, and that can help you just do your your Sneeze Awakening from there. Cooler has been such a good red-blue card since the release. It's so good. Videl, because you're running the Baby Unison, and yeah, it's just a very, I think, well put together list. Play by a good pilot and just good stuff. I don't really have that much to say. I'm very tired, and this is, spoilers, my second time recording this, and I'm just done for the night. So that's going to be it for me. Again, congrats to Eric on their finish there, and that is going to be every list that I go over for this video here. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to this video and you haven't liked, if you made it this far and you haven't liked and subscribed, I don't know why you haven't. I've been talking about this for like 30 minutes at this point, so you must like something about my stuff, and you just hit those buttons. It'd mean a lot. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.